Alright, I'm going to make another piece of archery tack for my daughter, and I'm using some inspiration from the BackyardBowyer on YouTube. Check out his channel on making an arm guard, and so I'm kind of eyeballing it. He's working in vegetable tan leather with an inlay. I want to do the same thing, but I want it predominantly made of buckskin. So right now I'm just making a pattern. I'm roughing out the pattern from scratch, and I'm kind of only doing halfway because I want the other sides to be symmetrical. So I want to fold this laterally and then cut out, and then I'll grab her arm and make sure that the pattern fits, or make some adjustments from there. And then once it looks right, then I'll be able to lay this out on some buckskin that I have and cut it out. So as you see, I've folded it in half roughly, and I'm just going to take some scissors and just cut this out. The old school art classes, we're 70s kids, and we had art before No Child Left Behind. My mother wasn't going to let me be left behind, so that was not an option. At any rate, we had art classes, and I remembered if you ever want something to be symmetrical, you fold the paper over and you cut it out. So here it is, what it looks like. It looks a little long, maybe a little big, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm eyeballing it, and I can always go back to the drawing board. I got plenty of paper bags to use. Okay, so it was a little too long, so I have more paper bags, so I just undid a paper bag along its seam and then opened it up, and then I'm just going to outline this rectangle, and then we'll put the shape in there as we need. So here's the rectangle that I have here, just loosely cut, and we'll make adjustments. Okay, this is what I have properly sized, and as you can see, there's the center line where I folded it, and so I can cut out the pattern pretty symmetrical on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrace it again, and I've marked out the center line here, and actually this is going to be we're going to cut a little shape out of this, which is going to be kind of an inlay, and the inlay is just going to be like extra padding for when the string rubs against her arm for after she looses the lets go of the bowstring on her draw. Okay, here's the drawn out pattern. I like to use a Sharpie, and actually I like using paper bags for my patterns, and the reason why is that I can always reuse this. I can always reuse it because the paper is pretty dense. It's basically just paper bags are really nothing but like really thin cardboard. So I can always turn around and make another, and I can make more. Patterns tend to, like when you go to a fabric store, the patterns tend to be made of tissue paper. You can only use it really once, if you're not careful. So a lot of times, with my experience with that, the tissue paper, I just prefer to make patterns out of a paper bag, and then I can file them away and pull them out whenever I need them. So that's why I use the paper bags. They're pretty durable and sturdy and heavy duty. All you do is just take a paper bag and rip it along the seam. There's usually a seam around the back that you just take it apart with. At any rate, I'm going to take the first model here, and I'm going to kind of sketch out the inlay, which is going to be kind of an eye shape or an ellipse, and then we'll trace it on there, and then we'll cut it out. And again, I folded this over on my original here, and I'm just kind of sketched out the outline here. And so when I cut this out, this should basically be a symmetrical ellipse, and then I can transfer it onto my main pattern, and then it should look symmetrical. Cool. So this is what we have. And I'm going to keep this piece because we'll need this, alright? Because we're going to use this as our more tougher material that will basically absorb the brunt of the shock of the bowstring. But we're going to transfer this over to our other pattern and kind of trace that out so we know where to cut. So here's the pattern, just sketched out in its entirety on a paper bag, and I've kind of marked out where about the button placements would be, or rather the lacing in buttons, I should say. And here's the inlet that we're going to cut out, but at least I know where this where I'm going to be cutting it out from. Now for longevity, one thing I'm going to say about the patterns, with longevity of patterns, you can also take them to like a copy center or whatever and have your patterns laminated. That's another way to keep them. So once you make a pattern and you don't want to have to remake it every time, or if it gets ruined, or if you're worried about moisture and this and that, just take them to a copy center and laminate them, or you can get a home laminator and just laminate them, and that way you will always have them, and they will actually be a little bit more durable at that point. So I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to use my black Sharpie outline here and go ahead and cut it out. Now you may ask, why didn't I just use this one, which actually it fits. It's tailored to her size, and I'm kind of doing the work twice, which I'm okay with. I'm doing this second part, really, I'm doing this redundantly just for demo purposes, and also to follow the saying of measure twice, cut once. So, although I've cut a number of times, but I just want to make sure that this pattern is going to be perfect. It's going to look right, because I have limited buckskin left. I haven't tanned any more this year, and so I want to make sure that this is going to look right and fit right, and it'll be good one shot out. So I don't mind the redundancy at this phase. Alright, we've gone through the initial phase of this pattern, basically just sizing, which was the wrong size, which is fine, I eyeballed it. And then to something a little bit more refined that actually fits. And then a final transfer with demarcations as to where the center line is, where the button should go, where the front is, where the back is. There's a date on here, and then basically what it is. So, and what I like to do also, there's another part to it, which is going to be the inlay. So I'll put 1 of 2 on this one and 2 of 2 on that one, so that these pieces belong together when I'm done using this pattern, and I'm like, oh, is this the only piece that I need? If I forget, then I know I need to be looking for another piece. So. So here are our pieces all cut out and ready to go to transfer to the leather. I'm going to need 2 pieces of buckskin for this piece here. I'm going to need, I believe, 2 pieces of buckskin for this piece here, and then 1 piece of vegetable tan, a cowhide or even rawhide would work as well.